I am going to show you how to replace a cigarette lighter socket that does not work. I have a video that tells you how to remove this part of the console so you can get behind there and remove the cigarette lighter socket. So I will put a link to that in the description. But this is how the cigarette lighter was connected, and to remove it you just push here and pull it. That's it. But let me show you how to test it with a multimeter so that you know for sure that you need to replace the socket. Now this multimeter, it costs less than $10, and I will put a link in the description on where you can buy it. So you turn on the multimeter and it should be set at DC volts 20. And if you read your owner's manual, it will explain that the red probe is plugged into the center port and the black probe is plugged into the bottom port. Okay? So to test the cigarette lighter socket, you put the red probe in the center, and then you can just touch the metal part on the outside. You see how we're getting a 0 reading. If your cigarette lighter socket was installed, it was stuck in like that, then you just put the red probe in the center and the black probe inside. And you see how we're getting a low reading. Now keep in mind that not all cars send power to the cigarette lighter socket when the car is off. So you might have to turn your car into the on position to get a reading. I don't with my car. So I'm going to remove this old socket, and then I have a new socket. This was $8, and now this is a General Motors cigarette lighter socket. It fits about 20 different models of cars from 20 years ago to present. So it's pretty universal. And there's a link in the description where you can buy it. And it goes on like, let's see. It should go on like this. I will just connect it. It goes like this. Snaps into place. Right there. And with the multimeter, you take the red probe, you stick it in the center, you take the black probe, put it on the middle on the outside, and you see we're getting a reading of 12.32. So now we can determine that the problem here was with the cigarette lighter socket. But one step I forgot to show you is that once you remove the old socket, you can test the wiring by putting one probe on the metal part. You see the metal part right there? Just stick it right there. And then you put the other probe on the other metal part, and you see my multimeter is giving me a reading. It's giving me a negative reading because I have the probes in the reverse positions, so I can just reverse the probes and get a positive reading. But I'm getting a reading of 12.3 volts, and I should, if everything's working fine, get a reading of 12.5 to 14 volts, somewhere in that range. So we know it's not the wiring. So when I got a 0 reading on the cigarette lighter socket, and I removed it and I tested the wiring, and the wiring gave me a good reading, that is how I was certain that the problem was with the cigarette lighter socket. So I have a video that shows you how to remove this console right here, this, so you can get the cigarette lighter socket out. But I'll put a link to that video in the bottom so you can see how to remove the cigarette lighter socket.